Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
Finally, what about the folks that are saying Saban is washed? He didn't look too washed today, did he?
Nah, he's not washed. Saban is Saban, man. He's not washed at all.
No, I don't see Coach Saban ever being washed. Yeah, forever.
I'm glad we got to run those sound bites, Rodney.
Really good.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and that was Alabama players Ja'Cory Brooks and DeMarco Hellams following Alabama's dominant 45-20 win over Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl. And yes, I asked them about all the stuff out there on the internet about Coach Saban possibly being washed, possibly having his best days behind him, as you heard. And all the players, to a man, we asked other ones too, they said Nick Saban is a force to be reckoned with and that he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But the real statement, Rodney, for Alabama came in the game. The Crimson Tide in the 89th Sugar Bowl Classic got off to a slow start and actually trailed 10-0 to the Kansas State Wildcats, the Big 12 champs, the Big 12 champs in the first quarter. Then Bryce Young and the Crimson Tide offense came alive. The defense also really did a number. Alabama scored 35 unanswered points to go up 35-10. They would lead 45-13. And then K-State added a touchdown late in the game to make it 45-20. Young, in his final game, was incredible. 5 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers in what was his last college game. The defense got it going after that first quarter. Now, Deuce Vaughn had an 88-yard run, and you can't take that away from him. That counts. I get it. He's a great back. But he didn't do anything. I mean, nothing outside of that one run. Not in the pass receiving game, not in the running game. Alabama got a huge fourth down stop in the goal line in the first half with a little more than a minute to go, leading 14-10. And then, Rod, you know what happened. They went 98 yards and a little more than a minute to go up 21-10. They got an onside kick that Kansas State tried to start the third quarter. It was 28-10, Rod. And really, the game was over because Alabama, once it got dialed and focused in, it looked as good maybe as it did all season. Brian Branch, we'll have more on him. 12 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, a sack, and an interception. So, Rodney, Alabama got it going. They took the ball away on defense. They scored points on offense, and at the end of that game, hey, listen, they're not in the playoff. I get it, but I was sitting there saying there aren't 4 better teams in the country than Alabama right now.
Yeah, they played really, really well, obviously. I think it's their best performance of the year. Actually, I think it's probably their best performance since the SEC championship game last year when they beat Georgia. You know, a lot of things probably contribute to it, Gary. I think that the experience of the season for the receivers was really big, having the month off to prepare, to continue to develop. Bryce Young's recovery from the injury, obviously that was really big. I think the offensive line played much better as a whole. So I thought offensively played really, really well. Defensively, you talked about it. Started a little bit slow, but I thought they played really fast as the game went along. Brian Branch was just a difference maker in the game. So, you know, again, you have to be really pleased. There's Brian Branch with that interception.
Yeah, Roddy. And for Young, I mean, listen, he won a Heisman Trophy. He's the only Alabama quarterback to ever do it. And there have been some good ones that come through here, even in the last few years. So we know how good the guy is, okay? That's obvious. But to throw for 321, no interceptions, and 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers in your final game, and oftentimes he throws it on time. A lot of times, though, he just buys time, and his ability to keep his eyes downfield when a guy comes open, and then not only hit him when he's open, but recognize when he's coming open so he can deliver the ball on time. It's uncanny. I think it's better than Tua, Mac, any of them.
Well, he's got great anticipation. Those guys you're talking about had great anticipation too. But, you know, this guy, I mean, look, I think he was healthy, and that was the big thing. I think we saw a completely different Bryce Young. As you mentioned, Gary, he was delivering the ball, delivering a lot of passes in rhythm. That was good to see. And, again, I can't say enough about the receivers and the way they seem to have developed since towards the end of the year. I think they really came on. You saw some of the young players. You saw Jermaine Burton obviously had a big game, but you saw Kobe Prentice. You saw Isaiah Bond. All those guys got involved. So I think that's a lot of promise for the future.
No opt-outs. But I talked about last week when I was in New Orleans. Everybody opted in, but did they buy in? Clearly they did. Clearly this wasn't for show. I even had somebody in the press box tell me, I bet you that Will Anderson doesn't play but about 10 or 12 snaps. I said, you're silly. they're not opting in just to put on the uniform and run out there on the field. They came to play.
Yeah, they did. And I think, obviously, we talked about Bryce and Will made some plays as well. But I think that's really the thing, Gary. A lot of people talked about before the game, as you mentioned, would Alabama really show up, even though these guys are playing? What we talked about, though, last week was we really felt it was more like the Michigan game from a couple of years ago. That's the feel. I know I got that feel because you had guys that were opting in. They played. You talked about Ruggs. You talked about Jerry Jeudy in that Michigan game. And then, of course, in this game, these guys that opted in to play, they showed up and played really, really well.
And we've talked all about Bryce and the offense, but this defense, I mean, again, the first quarter counts. I get it. But after that first quarter, buddy, they did a number on a good Kansas State offense.
It really did. I mean, look, how about Kool-Aid McKinstry? You saw him make that play. He made several plays in the secondary. As you see Brian Branch there with that interception again. Thought the defensive line played really, really well after, the first couple of series. As you mentioned, they shut down Deuce Vaughn. I was really, really surprised, Gary. I thought Deuce Vaughn was going to, and I know he got injured a little bit, but I thought he was going to make a much bigger difference as a receiver. The only time I really remember going to him down the field, Battle got the interception.
And real quickly, Rodney, it's another bowl win. It's another Sugar Bowl victory. I mean, those are big deals. But to win 11 games in 12 straight seasons, phenomenal accomplishment.
Yeah, and I think, too, after losing to LSU, the way they finished the season, coming back in the second half to beat Ole Miss, finishing strong, this is really big, I think, for the future.
Yeah, momentum for 2023. Well, now it's time for Coach Talk. And following Saturday's Sugar Bowl win, Crimson Tide head coach Nick Saban was asked what is the main takeaway from his team's performance, especially after some question how motivated the players would be after missing out on the college football playoff. Coach Saban said, quote, "Circumstances don't make you, they reveal the kind of character that you have."
And we've had teams in this circumstance before. We didn't get in the playoffs. We came and played in the Sugar Bowl, and we didn't play very well. And we didn't practice very well, and we didn't prepare very well. But this team did. And, they went out there like a team, played together as a team, and they were rewarded for it because of what they put into it.
I'm really proud to be
Expected on Monday morning, three of Alabama's top juniors, quarterback Bryce Young, running back Jahmyr Gibbs, and outside linebacker Will Anderson Jr. announced their intentions to enter the NFL draft. The talented trio led Alabama to that victory over Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Eve. They endeared themselves to Crimson Tide faithful even more by not joining the ranks of bowl opt-outs among top NFL prospects, and it didn't stop there. Brian Branch yesterday afternoon announced he's going to the draft. He's the top safety prospect in the draft, and today quarterback Eli Ricks announced on social media as well that he's going into the draft after 1 year at Alabama after transferring over to the Crimson Tide from the LSU Tigers. Here's Bryce, Will, and Jahmyr now on their decisions and their time at Alabama.
It feels good. This was something that, really honestly wasn't too drawn on. All my focus throughout the season has been, on the team and making sure that, I was doing everything I can to help the team. And, I'm always going to be a part of Alabama. I'm always going to, feel like I'm a part of the university, and I'm forever grateful.
It's a huge blessing. These 3 years have been absolutely amazing. The people in this building have been absolutely amazing to not only me but my family, and I can't wait to see what the next chapter holds.
Every moment I've been here has been great. Even the losses, we learned from them. We bounced back from those, and it just brought us together.
All right, Ronnie, but here's big news today, and I do think this is huge news. Place kicker Will Reichard announced that he'll be back for his 5th season. He earned that during the COVID year. Remember, he had already accepted an invitation to the Senior Bowl, so he was going to leave, but thought it over, said today that after much prayer and guidance, I realized that I wasn't ready to step away from Alabama football and the college experience. I've decided to take advantage of my final year of eligibility and tee it up with my Crimson Tide teammates one more time in 2023. Okay, I understand. Alabama signed a kicker. There would be other guys to try it out. But you're bringing back now arguably the best kicker in the country. And this gives the freshman an opportunity to learn the kicking game at the college level, and it gives you a chance if there's a close game, if it's, you need a 48 or a 50-yarder at the end to win the game to feel like you got a good shot. I think this is gigantic news. Honestly, Rod, maybe I hope I'm not too much hyperbole here, but I think it could be the difference in Alabama getting into the playoff and not making the playoff.
Well, look what happened to Ohio State. they would have been in the national championship game. They made a big kick. Will Reichard's made a lot of big kicks. I mean, 50-plus yard kicks. He's a guy that's been a difference maker. I think he's been one of the best kickers, certainly in Alabama football history. To get him back, it's like adding a 5-star for another year. So I think you're right. It's a really big that he's decided to come back.
Indeed, it is. And I know he missed the kick at Tennessee. I get it. But he's made most of them, and he's made all the big kicks that I can remember other than that one. All right, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama basketball is getting one of its future stars a little early. We'll explain what we're talking about. And the Crimson Tide is ready for its SEC home opener. We'll preview tonight's matchup against Ole Miss and tell you what we're excited to see now that we can turn our attention fully to basketball season. And coming up a little bit later, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, the phone number 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or you can email us at the address on your screen or tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider Television. And welcome back to Tider Insider TV, brought to you by our good friends at Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Well, Alabama basketball is in action tonight facing Ole Miss in the SEC home opener, 8 p.m. tip-off on the SEC Network. Alabama climbed up to 7th in both the Associated Press and USA Today coaches polls following last Wednesday's impressive road win at Mississippi State, 78-67. Freshman forward Brandon Miller named the SEC Freshman of the Week for the 3rd time this season. They're going to name the award after him, Rod. 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists against Mississippi State. Miller leads the SEC in scoring at 19.2 points per game this season. He's one of 7 players and the only player in the SEC as a freshman that has scored 250 points and grabbed 115 rebounds this season. He indeed is special. But, Rod, I think this basketball team overall has a chance to be special. You know, I've talked about this many times. You know, I want to see a Final Four for Alabama basketball before I'm gone. And, you know, they got a team this year, again, that I think has the potential to get there. Let's start out by just the win over Mississippi State, a top 25 team on the road to open conference play. That's as big as it gets. When you open on the road against the top 25 team and you're able to win the game, that's what you call building momentum early in your conference schedule. Yeah, and you know, Gary, I think, too, that pre-conference schedule, I think it really helps when you go into a game like that. You know, the success that they had against some really, really good teams. I mean, you knew this team, Alabama, was playing really well. But to go on the road, as you mentioned, in the SEC, pick off that first win, I mean, that's really big. That's obviously extremely big. It says a lot about this basketball team. A lot of young players making strong contributions. Gary, playing with a lot of maturity right now. One thing I really like about this team, Rodney, is depth. This is a deep team. You know, Clowney wasn't 100%. Pringle came in off the bench and had 10 points and 4 rebounds in 20 minutes, 4 from the field. Darius Miles didn't play, dealing with a personal matter. But you know what? They're so athletic. And you go right through the roster. Dom Welch is back now, the St. Bonaventure transfer. This is a deep team that can, you know, injuries are part of sports. We know that. But they seem to have enough talent and depth to overcome injuries or things that might happen during the course of a season. Yeah, and when a guy's not playing well. I mean, you know, you can bring somebody off the bench, give you a spark. I mean, that's something that you need, you know, if you're going to compete at the level they're trying to compete at, which is to win championships. And as you said, Gary, make it ultimately to that Final Four. Yeah, and Ole Miss will be no pushover. I know the record's not great, but they took Tennessee down to the wire. And Kermit Davis is one of the best defensive coaches in the country with that 1-3-1 zone that he runs primarily, but they change it up on you. They can be very difficult to deal with. But we'll have highlights from that game for you tonight on WVUA 23 News at 10. More good basketball news. Davin Cosby Jr., a 4-star senior shooting guard, has announced that he's already going to enroll early at Alabama for this January semester. He was scheduled to come in for next season. Now, what does this mean? Well, he won't play any more high school basketball, and he won't play for Alabama this year, coming out of a Word of God Academy in Raleigh, North Carolina. But he will be able to start practicing, Rodney. So he'll get experience at the college level, making that much more ready for his freshman season. And, again, give you another guy in practice that can go out there and help your team get better. I think this is great for this young man to be able to do this. Yeah, it is. And, you know, Gary, we've seen guys, the difference it's made for football players to be able to come in early. We saw a lot of guys come in those last 2 weeks, practice with the team before the bowl. I think that certainly gives him a jump start. 6'5" shooting guard, very, very talented. He'll get a head start and look forward to seeing him on the court with Alabama next season. Well, Alabama women's basketball is 1-1 in the SEC after their late push fell short on Sunday in a 89-76 lost to Tennessee at Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville. Megan Abrams led all scorers with a season-high 24 points, while Loyal McQueen tallied a career-high 21 as they scored 45. That duo did of Alabama 76. The loss dropped Alabama still to a very respectable 12-3 overall and 1-1 in the SEC. The Crimson Tide home on Thursday night to host Missouri at 6 p.m. on the SEC Network Plus. Alabama women's basketball going to be ready to go in a couple of days. Well, still to come on TITV, Alabama gymnastics prepares for a big opening night against the top 15 opponent. We'll preview the season opener against number 12 Michigan State. That's coming up next. And also, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Go ahead and give us a ring right now at 205-348 WVUA. That's 348-9882. We want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation. Give us a call now. We'll be right back after this. It's January. You know what that means? Gymnastics is back. Number 7 Alabama will host number 12 Michigan State to open the season this Friday night at 6 p.m. inside Coleman Coliseum. It'll be the first official meet of the new season with new head coach Ashley Johnston, a former Crimson Tide gymnast herself, and should be a lot of fun. Always is. Gymnastics a great sporting event and program here at the University of Alabama. Welcome back in with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris, and it's time to jump out on the phone lines. First up tonight, our good pal Sammy up in Walker County. Hey, Sammy.
Happy New Year, Gary and Rodney. And Gary, great coverage down in New Orleans. You and the whole sports team did a great job down there. Really love the reports.
Well, appreciate that.
Guys, the question is, Javion Cohen, a 2-year starter on the line. I don't know if we've ever had anybody transfer out. Do y'all have any insight on that? Thanks.
Yeah, Sammy, 26 starts, good player. You know, I think from what I've been able to gather, and Rodney may not agree with this because we haven't pre-discussed this. You just called in and asked about it. I think he had some opportunities elsewhere, namely Miami, and I think that it was made clear to him and his family they had an NIL opportunity waiting for him there. And if he took it, I just don't think that Alabama was interested in playing that match-it game. So I think he took his opportunity, and he's going on to Miami. He's a good player. But I tell you this, I think Alabama's got other good players, namely Tyler Booker, to step in there at that offensive guard position. I think they're going to be fine. But that's my guess. There was nothing wrong here at Alabama. He just got an opportunity, and he took it. It's the new world of college football.
It is. That's the way it is. And you mentioned it, Gary. You got a lot of young players to develop on that offensive line, a lot of opportunities for guys, whether it's Jaden Roberts. You mentioned Tyler Booker. Obviously, he's going to be a star. You've got other players coming in. So, it's a great opportunity for guys to be developed.
Indeed it is. Thank you, Sammy. I got another phone call coming up. Stu, I didn't catch who it is. Dwight in Adamsville is with us on the hotline. Hey, Dwight, how are you?
Doing fine, guys. How y'all doing tonight?
Very well, thank you.
My question is, our linebackers and our safeties for next year. I know we got a guy coming in from JUCO. Just wondering about those.
Yeah, thank you, Dwight. Good question. They're losing a lot. Losing a lot in that back end, losing toe-to-toe. Jalen Moody, who was out for the Sugar Bowl, but he started a lot of games. Linebacker, of course, Will Anderson Jr. on the outside. Linebacker and in the secondary. Going to have a lot of new faces next year.
Yeah, we saw some of the young guys. We saw Sean Murphy late. We saw Jahad Campbell late. You've got guys coming in. You mentioned the junior college transfer inside backer, Justin Jefferson. Obviously, you're losing your safeties. You're losing a lot of guys in the secondary. You're losing both safeties. You're losing Eli Ricks. This is a lot of things that have to be replaced in that secondary, but fortunately, they've recruited extremely well.
All right. Thanks for the phone calls. We got more of your calls, emails, and tweets coming up. There's the phone number. We'll be right back after this. The first edition of TITV for 2023. Hope everybody had a happy new year. Rolls on with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's get to our email question of the day. And it is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family. For all your air conditioning and heating needs, remember KDM Service Corporation. Do you think Tyler Harrell and Eli Ricks will return next season? Jamie in Haleyville. Well, Jamie, we found out today, and we already talked about it, Eli Ricks will not. Yeah, I think the expectation is Tyler Harrell, the wide receiver, number 8, the Louisville transfer that you see in this video, is going to come back. He's not in the portal as far as I know and needs to come back. Was hurt most of this year, but is a guy I think that still has a lot of ability.
He has a ton of ability. Great speed, Gary. A guy that's been clocked at under 4.3 by pro scouts. So he can fly, a guy that I know a lot of people had expectations this year that maybe he would contribute, had the injury, as you mentioned. So hopefully he returns next year and has a big year.
All right. Thank you, Jamie, for that email. Let's get back out on the phone line. CB in Tuscaloosa, our good pal here in T-Town, is with us. Hey, CB.
Happy New Year to y'all, gentlemen. I tell you, we're going to need a quarterback next year. Y'all ready to get one? And who's it going to be?
All right, thank you, CB. Well, they got 4 of them on scholarship. Of course, Milroe and Simpson, holdovers, Holstein, the freshman's already here. Lonergan will be coming in. He's playing high school baseball, so he'll be here this summer. So they'll have 4 guys. Obviously, the guys with the most experience you would think would have an edge, but I think they'll let them all compete.
They will. And, you know, Gary, people say, when will we know? It's like every time. We probably won't know until that Monday before the season opener when that depth chart comes out who's going to start.
All right. Thank you, CB. Thanks to all our callers and emails for tonight. Still to come on TITV. Najee Harris delivers when the Steelers needed him most. We'll have it for you next right here on TITV. Bama in the NFL, we have it every week. But this might be Najee Harris's best game of his career. Against the Ravens, Steelers had to win to stay in contention for the playoffs. That's the game-winning touchdown catch. He rushed for 111 yards, which was a season high. He blocked. I mean, he did everything. And this is Mika clinching the victory with an interception. Wow. So Najee scores the go-ahead touchdown, and then Mika clinches. Rodney, that's at Bama in the NFL. Hey, listen, man, they're everywhere. All right, that is going to do it for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Tider Insider TV. A reminder that if you missed any of tonight's show, we'll have a replay for you tonight at 10:30 on air on WVUA 23, or you can find it anytime at WVUA23.com. Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. We're going to leave you with some celebration highlights from Alabama's Sugar Bowl victory over the Kansas State Wildcats. Good night, everybody.